The dragon who should not know a human. The mountain peak shook under a cold wind, and the sky over it burned with orange and red clouds. On the highest stone platform lay an ancient star dragon, a creature older than most worlds, older than the empire that now feared him. His name was Sarander the Eternal Flame, but even his own people had forgotten that name thousands of years ago. His scales once shone like molten gold. Now they had grown dark and cracked. His wings, which used to cover valleys in shadow, lay folded and lifeless. The air around him felt heavy, as if his breath held the last warmth of the mountain. Alien warriors dressed in silver armor stood in a circle around him. They were called the Vorka Guardians, protectors of dragonkind. Normally, they feared nothing, not storms, not monsters, not entire armies. Yet today their hands shook. Their eyes stayed low. They did not dare look at the dying dragon for too long. Everyone knew one truth. An ancient dragon did not speak unless the universe itself needed to listen. Commander Karath, the leader of the Guardians, stepped closer. His sharp, wolf-like ears trembled. His tail lowered to the ground in respect. "My lord," he whispered, "we are here. Speak your final command." For a long moment, the only answer was the slow breath of the dragon, deep, rough, almost painful. Heat rolled out with every exhale, melting snow around him. Then Sarander's giant eye blinked open, a golden light shining through the darkness. The warriors stepped back. Every one of them felt the same sudden fear. A dying dragon should not still look so powerful. Sarander's voice came like thunder echoing through the earth. It was soft, but it shook their hearts. "Listen, my children." Some warriors dropped to their knees. A few whispered prayers. Others held their weapons as if they needed something to keep their hands from shaking. "My time is ending," the dragon continued, "but I leave behind a final wish, a final mission." Commander Karath nodded with a trembling jaw. "We will obey." The dragon lifted his head just an inch, an effort that sent cracks of energy across the stone. His eyes studied each warrior as if searching for something, as if deciding whether they were strong enough to hear what he would say next. Then, with a deep growl, he spoke words that froze every soul on the mountain. "Find the human, the one who knows my name." For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. It made no sense. A human? A creature from the small blue world at the edge of the empire? Humans were new in a galaxy, weak, quiet, mostly ignored. How could a human know the secret name of an ancient star dragon? Something even dragon scholars have forgotten. Commander Karath tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "My lord, your true name has been lost for 10,000 years. No human could possibly." Sarander growled softly, and the ground trembled again. "He knows my name," the dragon repeated, "and he must be found." "But why?" Another warrior dared to ask. "Why would a human be worthy of your final wish?" The dragon shut his eyes, as if remembering some long-buried memory. Something old, something painful. His voice dropped to a whisper, but it still echoed across the peak. "Because he once saved me." The warriors gasped. Saved? A human saved an ancient dragon? That was impossible. Humans could barely survive alien winters, let alone save a creature the size of a mountain. Commander Karath stepped forward again. "Who is this human, my lord? A great warrior? A prophet? A leader?" Sarander took a long, deep breath. Sparks escaped from the cracks between his scales. "No," he answered. "He was small, weak, young, gentle." His enormous eye opened again, and he was kind. The warriors looked at each other in confusion. Kindness? Dragons respected strength, not kindness. Then Sarander continued, his voice weaker now. "You will search every world, every colony, every station. You will follow his memory. You will find him." Commander Karath bowed deeply. "We will find him, my lord. But how will we know this human? What name should we search for?" Sarander's eyes dimmed a little. His chest rose slowly, painfully. He whispered, "I do not know the name he calls himself now, but he once told me." The dragon struggled for air. The mountain shook again. Energy flickered around him like fading fire. "He once said he was only a janitor. The Guardians froze. A janitor? A simple cleaner? Someone who swept floors and changed filters? This was the human connected to a legendary dragon? Before they could question it, Sarender's body glowed faintly. Light pulsed under his cracked scales, then dimmed again. "My time is near," he said quietly. "But hear this." His gaze sharpened one last time, strong enough to burn straight into their souls. "If he dies, my fire dies with him. If he lives, so does hope." The wind went silent. The sky seemed to stop moving. Every warrior felt the same fear sink deep inside them. The fate of an ancient dragon, the fate of their people, the fate of the galaxy itself, was now tied to a human janitor. Sarender lowered his head. "Go!" Commander Karath shouted to his soldiers. "We begin the search. Every ship, every scout, find this human." The Guardians ran toward their ships with the weight of a dying universe on their shoulders. Behind them, the ancient dragon closed his eyes for what might be the last time, and whispered once more into the cold wind. "Find him, the human who swept floors." The mining station Argon, 12 floated quietly in the dark, cold space near a dying red star. It was an old, boring place, full of metal halls, leaking pipes, and workers who counted days, not dreams. And inside one narrow hallway, a human held a broom. His name was Evan Cole. His shirt was plain, his boots were dusty, and his job was simple. Sweep floors, fix trash units, and clean whatever exploded last night. Everyone on the station knew Evan, not because he was special, but because he was ordinary. He didn't speak much. He avoided trouble. He liked quiet corners and hot tea. Nothing about him suggested he was tied to a creature that could shake mountains. But today, something felt wrong. The hallway lights flickered. The air hummed with strange energy. Evan paused mid-sweep and frowned. For the last 3 nights, he felt watched. From shadows. From vents. From somewhere he couldn't point at. He told himself it was stress. He told himself he needed sleep. But the feeling was back, stronger. And then he saw them. 2 tall, armored shadows standing at the far end of the hall. Silver armor. Sharp helmets. Glowing blue visors. The Vorka Guardians. Evan stepped back. What are they doing here?" he whispered to himself. The Guardians belonged to dragons. What would they want with a janitor? Suddenly, the lights snapped off. The hall went dark. The broom fell from Evan's hands. In the darkness, a voice rumbled deep inside his chest. Not from ahead, not behind, but from inside his own mind. A deep, ancient voice. A voice he had heard only once in his life. "Evan." He froze. No, impossible. That voice belonged to something he saw when he was a child. Something he never told anyone about. Something he swore was a dream. But then it spoke again. "Come." Evan stumbled backward, heart pounding. The lights flicked on suddenly, and the Guardians were gone. Only the broom remained on the floor. Evan's breath shook. He wiped his forehead and tried to calm down. "I'm losing it," he whispered. "I'm just tired. Too much work, not enough sleep." That's when the station alarm screamed. "Wee-oh-oh-oh! Wee-oh-oh-oh!" Red lights flashed everywhere. Voices echoed in panic. Unknown ships approaching. Lockdown sectors 5 through 9. Workers, return to your stations immediately. Evan didn't run. He just stood frozen while workers rushed past him. His chest still buzzed with the echo of that voice. Another worker grabbed his arm. "Evan, didn't you hear? We need to move." But Evan heard nothing, because the voice whispered again. "Come to me." He closed his eyes. He saw fire, mountains, golden scales, an eye as big as a human room. He saw himself as a boy, touching a giant, injured creature on the ground. He saw his small hand resting on burning scales. He heard himself whispering a name he should never have known. Hearing that memory again made his heart drop. "No," Evan muttered. "That was years ago. That was a dream." But the universe didn't care. 3 massive shadows crossed the station windows, dragon ships, sleek and shaped like wings. They docked with a loud metallic clang. Everyone screamed and ran. Evan didn't. He just stared. The Guardians stepped out of the ship in perfect formation. Their boots hit the ground like thunder. Their commander, tall, fierce and glowing with blue markings, looked around, scanning faces like he was hunting something. Then his glowing eyes fell on Evan and stopped. Evan swallowed hard. Oh no, 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 no. The commander walked forward slowly, each step heavy. Evan took a step back and bumped into the wall. He felt like a mouse cornered by a wolf. The commander stopped right in front of him. All the other workers watched from safe corners, terrified. The commander spoke in a deep, strict voice. You, human, state your identity. Evan tried to speak. Nothing came out. He cleared his throat. Evan Cole. I'm just a janitor. The commander's eyes changed, confusion mixed with disbelief. He whispered into his communicator. We found him. Evan's stomach dropped. Wait, what do you mean you found me? Evan said, voice breaking. I didn't do anything. The commander leaned close. You know the name of the Ancient One? Evan blinked. What? Ancient who? The Star Dragon, Sarander, the commander growled. Our dying lord. His final command was to find the human who knows his true name. Evan felt the entire room spin. Sarander. That name. He hadn't heard it in years. He didn't even know how he remembered it. But he had spoken it once. As a child. To a burning, dying creature in a forest. The commander continued. You were the last being he spoke of. You carry something inside you. Something he wants returned. Evan stepped away, shaking his head fast. No, I'm just a janitor. I clean floors, I fix broken vents. I don't know dragons. I don't know. The commander grabbed his arm. You will come with us. Now. Evan pulled back. Stop. You got the wrong guy. But deep inside him, the ancient voice whispered again, soft, warm, almost sad. Evan, you must come, before it is too late. Evan's eyes widened. It was real. That moment he feared for years. That dream he tried to forget. It had come back, and it was calling him into a destiny he never asked for. The Guardians tightened their grip. The commander spoke. Evan Cole, the fate of our world rests on you. Evan whispered, terrified. Oh, I am so dead. And the Guardians dragged him toward the ship, while the voice of the ancient dragon whispered deeper into his mind. Hurry. The secret Evan never told anyone. Evan Cole sat strapped inside the dragon warship, his hands trembling against cold metal. The Guardians had locked him into a deep seat, the kind used for prisoners traveling through dangerous space. The ship hummed with energy as it lifted from the mining station. Outside the window, Argon 12 grew smaller and smaller, until it looked like just another lonely light in the galaxy. Evan swallowed hard. He tried to calm his shaking breath. He failed. Two Guardians stood beside him, watching him like he was radioactive. Not dangerous, but unpredictable. Commander Kirath himself sat across from him. His armor glowed dim blue, reflecting the flames of the ship's engines. Evan whispered, Can someone please tell me what's going on? Slowly, in human language. Kirath leaned forward. You knew the Ancient One. Evan closed his eyes for a moment. The name burned like fire inside his mind. Sarander. He had hoped never to hear that name again. He opened his eyes. Look, Commander, I was a kid. I saw something once, but I don't know anything now. Kirath didn't believe him. His tail flicked with annoyance. Humans do not simply see ancient dragons, Kirath said sharply. You spoke to him. You touched him. You knew his true name. Evan's heart twisted. He remembered it too clearly. A memory that should have never been his. The forest was burning. Evan, only 9 years old, stood shaking in the smoke, coughing and crying. His parents were shouting behind him, telling him to run far, run fast. But he didn't. Something had pulled him toward the flames, toward a giant shape lying broken on the ground. Golden scales, cracked wings, a wounded giant breathing fire and dust. The dragon lay there, weak, dying. One huge eye opened, and it saw the small human boy standing in front of him. The dragon whispered something, soft, ancient, impossible. Its voice felt like a storm trapped inside Evan's tiny chest. What's your name? Little Evan whispered, crying. The dragon looked surprised. Dragons were feared. No one ever asked for their names. Then the dragon spoke a name that no one in the galaxy remembered anymore. A name that now echoed inside Evan's soul. Surrender. And the boy, trembling, choking on smoke, repeated it. The moment their voices touched the same name, something powerful connected them, something that should not have happened. Then soldiers arrived. There was shouting, blinding light. Someone carried Evan away. Everything went dark. That was the last time Evan saw the dragon, and he had kept this secret buried for years. But now, that moment had come back to claim him, back in the present. Evan opened his eyes and stared at the metal floor. I didn't save him, he whispered. I was just a scared kid who didn't know what he was doing. Karatha's eyes narrowed. But you did save him, he said. He remembered only one thing before dying: your kindness, your voice, your courage. Evan shook his head. No, you don't understand. I didn't do anything. I just talked to him. That was enough, Karath said. A human child spoke the name of a dragon who had forgotten himself. That connection, it changed you both. Karath leaned even closer. And now, the Ancient One is dying again, and he calls only for you. Evan felt like he couldn't breathe. But why? Why me? I'm not a hero. I sweep floors. I clean vents. I'm not special. The commander studied him quietly. Then he said something unexpected. Maybe that is exactly why you matter. Evan looked up in confusion. Karath explained. In our galaxy, strength rules. Power commands respect. But the dragon remembered a moment of kindness from a human who was too small to matter. That act stayed in his heart for thousands of years. Evan blinked, stunned. But then Karatha's voice hardened. However, you must also understand the danger. If you carry even a fragment of Sarender's fire inside you, many will hunt you. Evan's throat tightened. Hunt me? For what? For power, Karath replied. For prophecy. For the gift the dragon placed inside you. Evan felt cold down his spine. And what gift is that? He asked slowly. Karath did not answer. Instead, he gestured to one of the guardians. The warrior pulled out a scanning device and aimed it at Evan. A soft hum filled the cabin. A hologram flickered to life in the air. Everyone stared, including Evan. Inside his chest, right behind his heart, was a swirling mass of glowing golden energy. A flame, a living flame. Sarender's flame. Evan gasped. What is that? Karatha's voice dropped to a whisper. That human is a piece of the dragon's soul. Evan felt the color drain from his face. A soul? Why would he put that in me? Because you once saved his, Karath replied simply. The ship suddenly shook hard. Alarms blared. Impact on the hull, a guardian shouted. Unknown ships behind us. Karath stood instantly. Evasive maneuvers. Protect the human. Evan panicked. Protect me? From who? Before Karath could answer, another blast struck the ship. The lights flickered. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Then a shadow appeared on the screen. A massive black warship, shaped like a jagged claw. Karatha's eyes widened with hatred. The Dravik hunters, he growled. They must have sensed the dragon's soul in you. Evan's stomach twisted painfully. They want my soul? No, Karath said. They want the dragon inside you. Evan felt his breath get stuck. And if they catch me? Karath answered with a cold, final tone. Then the galaxy will lose its last hope. The ship shook again, and Evan realized there was no going back, no quiet life, no broom, no normal days. His childhood secret had exploded into a cosmic nightmare, and he was right in the middle of it. The galaxy learns about the janitor. The dragon warship shook again as another blast hit the side. Evan held the straps of his seat so tight his fingers went numb. The guardians moved fast, shouting commands, pulling up shields, and preparing weapons. Outside the window, space turned into chaos. Blue flames from the guardian's ship fought against black shadows from the Dravik hunters. Red lasers sliced through the darkness. Stars flashed like sparks. Evan watched in terror. Commander Karath stayed calm, too calm. His eyes glowed with cold focus. Stay low, he said to Evan. If they board this ship, they will come for you first. Evan nearly choked. Come for me. Why me? Why not one of you scary, sword-waving warriors? Karath didn't even blink. Because you carry the flame. And they want it. That did not help Evan's heartbeat at all. The Dravik hunters attack. Another shockwave hit the ship. Evan slid sideways in his seat, nearly hitting the wall. "What do the Dravik even want?" he shouted. Karath finally answered, his voice low. "They believe whoever controls the dragon's soul controls the future." Evan froze. "The future?" "Yes," Karath said. "A soul bond between a dragon and a human has never happened before. They think you may become a weapon. Or a key." Evan raised both hands. "I'm not a key. I don't even know how to fix a toaster without breaking it." The ship jerked violently again. Outside, the enemy warship grew closer. Its claw-shaped design looked alive, hungry, eager to tear them apart. The Guardians performed battle maneuvers that made Evan's stomach flip. The ship dove, rolled, shot forward, and spun to dodge attacks. Evan clung to the seat like he might fly off into space. One Guardian shouted, "Commander, they're locking onto us." Karatha's jaw tightened. "We cannot outrun them. Shift into phase drift. Now." Evan panicked. "Wait, what's phase DR?" A loud boom cut him off as the ship entered a glowing tunnel of warped space. Everything stretched. Colors twisted. Evan's vision blurred. Then the ship snapped back into normal space with a painful jolt. Silence followed. For a moment. Then, "Commander!" a Guardian yelled, staring at a glowing screen. "There's a broadcast spreading across the central network." Karath frowned. "What broadcast?" The warrior swallowed. Then he turned the screen toward Karath. The commander's eyes widened. He cursed under his breath. Evan leaned forward. "What? What is it? Angry space news? A meteor? What?" Slowly, fearfully, the Guardian showed Evan the screen. His heart stopped. The galaxy knows his face. There on the broadcast was a picture of Evan. His ID photo. Mop in hand. Baggy shirt. Hair messy like he had lost a fight with a vacuum cleaner. Above his face, giant, glowing letters spelled, "Wanted, human carrier of the dragon's soul." A robotic narrator spoke over the image. "This human has been identified as Evan Cole. Age, 27. Occupation, station janitor. Species, human. Status, priority target." The voice continued. "Any empire, clan, or alliance that captures the human alive will receive." The message glitched, then continued with a cold mechanical tone. "Complete control over the next era of Dragonfire." Evan's face drained of color. "No. Why? Why my photo? Why this photo? I look like I'm half asleep." Karath ignored the photo complaint entirely. "This is worse than I feared," the commander muttered. "This broadcast will reach every major system. Every war clan, every hunter, every beast." Evan leaned forward, voice shaking. "Commander, are you telling me the entire galaxy now wants to kidnap me?" Karath looked him dead in the eyes. "Not kidnap," he said. "Someone want to use you. Someone want to worship you. And others." His voice turned grave. "Others will want to tear the dragon's soul out of you." Evan's breath caught. "Tear out? How?" Karath didn't answer. Evan took that silence as a very bad sign. The ship isn't safe anymore. A sudden alarm beeped. The Guardian at the controls shouted, "Commander, multiple ships dropping out of warp behind us." Karath rushed to the window. 5 ships appeared, then 7, then 12. Each ship came from a different species, different clan. Some looked advanced. Some looked wild. Some looked like flying bones held together by metal and hatred. But they all had one target. One human. Evan whispered, "They came for me already?" That was fast. Karath barked orders. "Prepare defensive shields. Keep the human protected. Plot a course to the mountain sector. Now." Evan's heart pounded. "Why the mountain?" Karath shouted over the noise. "Because that is where Sarander waits. And if we do not reach him soon, every one of these hunters will rip you apart." Evan's stomach twisted painfully. He felt sweat on his palms. His heart raced. He wanted to wake up. He wanted this all to be a nightmare. But no dream ever felt like this. The Guardians rushed around him, preparing weapons. Shields. Battle formations. But even through all the chaos, Evan felt something strange inside him. A warmth. A pulse. A heartbeat that wasn't his. The dragon flame inside him was waking up. His eyes widened. "Commander, something's happening inside me." Karath turned quickly. "Describe it." "It's hot. like fire but not burning, like something is trying to talk to me. Karatha's face went pale. That means the Ancient One is reaching for you. He's calling you. The bond is strengthening. Evan grabbed his chest. It hurts. Why does it hurt? Karath stepped closer, voice heavy. Because the dragon is dying, and whatever piece of him he placed inside you is waking up to replace him. Evan's entire body froze. Replace him? Yes, Karath said. If the dragon dies fully, his soul flame will awaken inside you. And then, the ship suddenly shook harder than before. Enemy ships had begun firing. Karath shouted, "Hold on. The real hunt begins now." Evan closed his eyes. He was no longer a janitor. He wasn't safe. He wasn't unknown. He was hunted by the galaxy, and the dragon inside him was waking up. Journey to the Dragon's Rest. The Guardian's warship shot through space like a wounded comet, shields flickering as enemy blasts hammered against the hull. Evan clung to his seat straps, heart pounding so hard it hurt. All around him, the ship shook. Sparks flew. Metal groaned under the pressure. Commander Karath stood firm, shouting orders with a voice made of steel. "Keep the shields up. Do not let them breach the hull. The human must survive." Evan yelled over the noise. "Stop saying it like I'm a fragile piece of glass." The Guardian beside him glanced over. "You are," he said simply. Another explosion rocked the ship. Evan, shut up. The galaxy won't stop hunting. Every screen showed red warnings. Multiple hunters. Different species. Different ships. But one goal. Capture the human with the dragon's soul. A Guardian shouted from the controls. "Commander, the hunters are spreading out to block our route." Another added, "They know we are heading to the mountains sector." Karath growled, "Of course they do. They know Sarander is there." Evan gripped his seat. "So, every alien in the area knows we're going to the dying dragon." "Not every alien," Karath said. That gave Evan a spark of hope, until the commander added, "Just every powerful one." Evan slapped a hand over his face. "Oh great. Perfect. Wonderful." The flame begins to wake. Suddenly, Evan's chest tightened. A heat grew inside him. Not normal heat. Not human heat. It felt like someone lit a sun behind his ribs. He gasped and grabbed his shirt. "Commander, something's happening." Karath rushed over. "What do you feel?" Evan squeezed his eyes shut. "It's like there's a heartbeat inside me. But not mine." Karatha's voice softened in a way Evan had never heard before. "That is the dragon flame." The warmth spread into Evan's arms. His fingertips glowed, faintly gold before fading. He stared at his hands in horror. "This isn't normal. This isn't human. It was never meant to be," Karath said. "When the Ancient One gave you a piece of his soul, he changed your fate forever." Evan's breath trembled. "I don't want fate. I just want my old life back." Karatha's eyes were steady. "That life is gone." Evan looked away. Deep inside him, a voice stirred. Not words, just emotion. Fear, pain, hope. The dragon was calling him, again. The path to the mountain sector. The ship finally burst through a cloud of plasma storms. Bright blue lightning danced across the shields. Space itself looked torn and boiling. Evan stared out the window. Ahead of them stood a huge planet with white mountains and swirling silver clouds. The air around the planet seemed alive, glowing faintly, humming, vibrating. "That's Sarander's planet," Karath said quietly. Evan felt the warmth inside him pulse at the sight. The dragon was there, waiting, calling, dying. But they were not alone. Dozens of ships circled the planet like vultures waiting for the final breath of a fallen king. Evan whispered, "They're really waiting for me." Karath nodded. "Not just you." The flame. A dangerous descent. The ship angled downward, preparing to enter the atmosphere. But the hunters moved instantly. 5 ships broke formation. They dove toward them like predators smelling blood. "Brace for impact," Karath shouted. The ship shook violently as it hit the atmosphere. Fire streaked across the windows. The sky around them turned red and gold. A guardian at the controls yelled, "We lost half our shields." Evan grabbed his seat. "Half? That means the other half is..." Another explosion. Evan screamed, "About to disappear too." Karath slammed his fist onto a control panel. Activate quantum boosters. We need to lose them in the cloud layer. Golden clouds swallowed the ship whole. Lightning flashed on all sides. Wind storms tossed the ship like it weighed nothing. Outside, the hunters followed with glowing red engines. Evan stared at them. They're not stopping. Why aren't they stopping? Karath's voice was grim. Because to them, you are the future. Evan's eyes widened as lightning cracked across the sky. Future? What future? In this moment, all he felt was danger. Voices in the storm. The dragon flame inside him pulsed harder. Suddenly, the ship around him faded. He saw mountains, snow, a cave glowing gold, and a massive dragon lying breathless inside. A whisper reached him. Come, little one. Evan gasped and clutched his head. Karath grabbed him. What do you see? The dragon, Evan whispered. He's calling me. He's dying, and he knows I'm close. Karath released him gently. That is why we must reach him. Before the hunters reach you. Evan's pulse raced with fear. Or maybe it wasn't his pulse. Maybe it was the dragon flame. The crash landing. The ship suddenly lurched downwards. A guardian screamed, Commander, Engine 3 is gone. Karath cursed. Prepare for crash landing. Brace yourselves. Evan's entire body tensed. The ship tore through clouds, dipped sideways, and smashed against a snowy mountain slope. Metal screamed. Sparks flew. He felt weightless for a moment. Then everything went black. The awakening. Evan woke on the snow. His vision blurry. He was alive, somehow. The guardians lay scattered around, injured but moving. Karath limped to him. We must continue to the cave. Evan saw it in the distance. A glowing light at the peak of a mountain. Gold, warm, powerful. The dragon's rest. Karath pointed. He is waiting for you. Evan stared at the glowing cave. A mix of fear and destiny twisted inside him. But how do we get there with hunters everywhere? Karath gave him a fierce, broken smile. That's why we are still alive, human. To fight, so you can reach him. Evan swallowed. This was it. The journey wasn't just dangerous. It was impossible. And yet, the dragon flame pulsed again, guiding him forward. The final meeting. Snow crunched under Evan's boots as he climbed the mountain slope, every breath freezing in the icy air. The world around him felt unreal, too white, too silent, too cold. The crashed ship burned behind him, smoke rising into the sky like a dark warning. The guardians walked beside him, injured but determined. Commander Karath limped heavily, but his eyes burned with purpose. Ahead of them, the golden cave glowed like a heartbeat in the snow. Evan felt that same golden pulse inside his chest, stronger than ever, louder than ever. It was calling him, pulling him, dragging him towards something huge and terrifying. The hunters are close. A guardian whispered sharply, Commander, they are moving fast. We cannot outrun all of them. Karath looked at the sky. Red streaks glowed above the clouds. Hunter ships dropping through the atmosphere like falling knives. Evan swallowed hard. They're coming for me. Karath nodded. Yes, and they will kill us all to claim the flame. Another guardian gripped his weapon. They will reach us in minutes. Karath pointed toward the glowing cave. Then we have minutes. Enough for the human to meet him. Evan's voice cracked. Meet who? Karath stepped closer. The one calling you. The one inside your memories. The one who gave you his soul. Evan stared at the cave, terrified and drawn at the same time. Surrender, he whispered. His chest pulsed. The flame inside him responded. Karath put a hand on Evan's shoulder. Go. We will hold the hunters as long as we can. Evan froze. But you'll die. Karath smiled faintly. If we die with honor. Protecting the last piece of the Ancient One. Evan felt his throat tighten. He didn't want them to die for him. He didn't want any of this. He was just a janitor. But fate did not care. The dragon flame burned again, hotter, louder. It pushed him forward. The cave of the Ancient Ones. Evan stepped into the golden cave. Warm light filled the space, sucking away the cold. Strange, glowing crystals lined the walls like frozen lightning. The air hummed, a deep, ancient vibration that made his bones shake. Each step felt heavier, harder, more real. He walked deeper, and then he saw it. At the center of the cave, lying in a pool of golden fire, was the ancient dragon. Sarander, bigger and older than Evan remembered in his childhood vision. A mountain of scales and wings. A living sun trapped inside a dying body. His golden scales were cracked. His wings lay flat like broken towers. And his breathing, slow, heavy, fading. Evan felt his knees weaken. Sarander raised his head slightly, just enough to open one giant, glowing eye. That eye locked on Evan. Evan stopped breathing. The dragon spoke, not with his mouth, with his mind. Little one. The voice shook the cave. Evan's eyes filled with tears. I wasn't sure you were real, he whispered. The dragon let out a soft, rumbling sound, almost like a laugh. Almost. You came just as I knew you would. Evan took a shaky step forward. I didn't know I would. I'm just me. You were always more. The dragon's eye softened. Come closer. Evan walked until he stood directly before the giant creature. Heat rolled off the dragon in waves, warm, comforting, ancient. He remembered being a small boy, standing in front of this same creature, speaking his name, saving him without understanding why. Evan whispered, "Why me? Of all the beings in the galaxy, why choose me?" Sarander blinked slowly. "Because you were kind." Evan froze. In a day of fire and death, you showed kindness. You did not scream. You did not run. You spoke my name when I myself had forgotten it. Evan felt the golden flame inside him pulse harder. "But I was just a kid," he said. "I didn't know anything." Sarander shook his head slightly. "A child's heart saw what warriors could not. You saw me as a living being, not a monster." His voice grew weaker. "That moment bound us. My spirit and yours. And now," the dragon's eyes dimmed a little. "I'm dying again." Evan's throat tightened. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Sarander's voice softened. "Do not mourn me. My time was always meant to end." The dragon lifted one giant claw, a movement that seemed to take all his strength. "Come closer, little one. Place your hand on my chest." Evan hesitated. "What will happen?" The dragon breathed deeply. The truth. The hunter ships boomed outside the cave. Snow shook. Screams echoed from the battle outside. Time was almost gone. Evan stepped forward and placed his hand on the cracked golden scales. Instantly, fire exploded under his palm. Golden light wrapped around his arm. His eyes widened. His heart pounded in panic. He screamed, but the dragon held him gently with a mental whisper. "Do not fear. You are ready." Memories poured into Evan's mind. Sarander's battles, his journeys, his victories, his loneliness, his ancient wisdom, his pain. Evan felt everything. He gasped and felt his knees. The dragon's flame inside him shouted awake. His chest blazed with golden light. Sarander's voice whispered one last truth. "I did not choose you to replace me. I chose you because my power should live in a kind heart." Tears streamed down Evan's face. "Please don't go," he whispered. Sarander's eyes dimmed even more. "It is time." The dragon leaned closer. "For you to rise." And with a final breath, the ancient dragon began to fade. Golden fire lifted from his body. It swirled into the air like living light and flowed into Evan, filling him, changing him, bonding with him forever. Outside, the hunters broke through the guardians. Inside the cave, Evan Cole opened his eyes, and they glowed like a dragon's. The gift that changes everything. The golden fire surged into Evan's body like a living storm. His vision blurred. His heartbeat thundered. His veins glowed bright through his skin. He felt like he was burning alive. But the flames didn't hurt. Instead, they lifted him, flooded him, transformed him. Sarander's final breath became Evan's first step into something impossible. Something not human. Something not dragon. Something new. When Evan opened his eyes again, the cave flashed with golden light. His pupils were no longer round and human. They had turned into glowing dragon slits. He gasped, What have you done to me?" But Sarander no longer answered. The ancient dragon's body, once a mountain of power, collapsed into glowing dust. The fire that was once his life now lived inside Evan. A single tear rolled down Evan's cheek. Goodbye, old friend. He knelt in the dragon dust, placing a hand over it. The warmth inside him pulsed, soft, living, grief-filled. But outside the cave, grief had no power. Only war did. The hunters arrived. Explosions thundered through the mountains. Snow fell from the cave ceiling. Screams echoed from below. Evan stumbled toward the entrance, just in time to see the Guardian's last defensive line fall. The Dravik hunters stormed the mountain, creatures with spiked armor, jagged bone masks, and cruel, hungry eyes. They carried weapons designed for one purpose: to tear the dragon's soul out of Evan. Their leader, a tall, armored monster with glowing red veins, lifted his spear at Evan. "There," he roared. "The human host. Take him." Evan backed away, terrified. "Wait, I don't know how to do anything." "You want a flame? Take it." "I don't even want it." The Dravik leader laughed. "A pity. You cannot give it. It must be ripped out." He raised his spear to strike. Evan flinched, but the flame inside him awakened first. It surged through his chest like a living heartbeat. Energy crackled across the ground. Golden symbols appeared in the air around him. Ancient runes Evan could not read, but somehow understood. His fear turned into something else. Something stronger. Something ancient. His voice grew deeper, layered with the echo of Sarander's power. "Stay back." The hunters froze, just for a moment. Then they charged. The dragon's power unleashed. Evan lifted his hands instinctively, and golden fire exploded outward. Not destructive flames, controlled flames. Fire that obeyed him like it belonged to him. The blast knocked the first wave of hunters across the snow. Their armor melted. Their bone masks cracked. They screamed and fell back. Evan stared at his own hands, shaking. I did that." The flame answered, pulsing through his body. A whisper filled his mind. "Use it, but do not lose yourself." It was Sarander's voice, faint, fading, but still guiding him. More hunters stormed the cliff, roaring in fury. Karath, bleeding, injured but alive, stumbled to Evan's side. "Human," he shouted. "Whatever you just did, do it again." Evan nodded, terrified. "I don't know how." "Then learn." Karath roared. A hunter lunged toward Karath. Evan reacted without thinking. Golden energy shot from his palm and formed a shield of dragon fire, blocking the attack. Karath's eyes widened. "That is dragon magic," he whispered, stunned. "The flame has accepted you." Evan gulped. "No pressure, right?" But the hunters didn't stop. They came in waves, climbing the mountain, leaping from rocks, firing weapons of dark energy. Evan raised both hands. The flame rose with him. A ring of golden fire formed around the cave, a barrier no hunter could cross. The fire roared like a living thing and knocked dozens of enemies backward. Karath looked at the glowing barrier, amazed. "You are the new flame bearer." Evan's heart twisted. "I don't want to be anything. I never asked for this." Karath grabbed his arm. "Heroes never do." Evan stared at him. Then both turned as the Dravik leader stepped forward again, fury burning in his red eyes. "You think the flame makes you strong?" he snarled. "It makes you hunted." He raised his spear, now glowing with dark power. "And when we rip it from your bones, the galaxy will fall." Evan felt the flame inside him flare in anger. Something inside him shifted. Not fear, not panic, resolve. He stepped forward, fire curling around his body like golden armor. "You will not take it," Evan said softly. The mountain wind carried his voice, calm, steady, powerful. "You will not hurt anyone." The Dravik leader laughed. "You think you can fight me, human?" Evan's eyes glowed. "No." He lifted his hands, and the flame roared behind him. "I think the dragon can." The mountain peak erupted in golden fire. The Dravik leader screamed as the flames consumed his weapon, shattered his armor, and launched him off the cliff. He vanished into the storming snow. Silence fell. The surviving hunters fled in terror. The battle was over. Evan stood in the snow, breathing hard, glowing with the last of Sarander's power. The new legend begins. Karath limped to Evan's side, exhausted. "You saved us." Evan shook his head. I didn't do it alone. He looked at the golden dust of the dragon swirling in the wind. The flame inside him warmed. Karath placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. You carry the last ancient dragon. His heart, his fire, his wisdom, his power. Evan stared at his glowing hands. Then I'll use it to protect people, he whispered. To protect worlds. To protect anyone who needs it. Karath bowed deeply. Then Evan Cole, Janitor of Argon, 12. He smiled through cracked teeth. You are now the guardian of the last flame. Evan looked at the glowing horizon. The future was unknown, dangerous, terrifying, but for the first time ever, he felt ready. The dragon flame pulsed inside him one final time. A whisper echoed softly. Not goodbye, only the beginning. Evan closed his glowing eyes and stepped forward into a new destiny.